to our special edition of Coffee Talk. I'm here with Richard Saucedo and Ben Reidhead, who is the category manager for French horns and marching brass at Conn Selmer at our Eastlake factory. Ben, Richard, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. We're glad to have Ben on today, that's for sure.
Doing well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to Ben this morning. Ben is a fantastic horn player in the Cleveland area and used to be a play tester actually at the Conn Selmer factory at Eastlake, and then graduated to the category manager position. Has been doing a terrific job revamping our Conn Holton horns and also working on some special projects in the marching brass, coupled with our relationship and partnership with Blue Devils. And we're really excited about that. Ben, just to kind of go through a little bit of the timeline for folks. I mean, this project started actually before you were appointed as category manager back during COVID in late 2019. Richard, you remember conversations that we had with Tim Lutzenheiser and Andy Seeley at Hebron High School, just talking about the Hebron High School marching band alto voice sound. Why don't you say just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I think everyone knows, listening to that incredible band at Hebron, they do have an amazing alto sound, and their mellophones have always been just so rich sounding and so much close. I think, I don't know what you think, Randy, but closer to the actual French horn sound. And
Yeah.
I think it's been really great to hear over the years. I've heard him so many times in San Antonio and always impressed with that sound. So we've wondered, you and I have always wondered, how do they get that? And it seems like even though it's taken a while, as everything always does, it seems like we're starting to come around now and come up with this instrument. So could not be more excited about this.
Yeah, and a lot of the groups in Texas, their kids are doing all region band auditions throughout the fall. They want their horn players on as close to a French horn setup as possible without adapters. And so Andy started adapting these mellophones with a French horn lead pipe. He partnered with Rick Lambrecht, who's the horn professor at University of Texas, El Paso, and or UTEMP, I guess as they call it. And both of those gentlemen, both Rick and Jim, assisted us in this project. Jim is a boutique horn builder in New Mexico at Patterson Hornworks, and he really helped us, along with Chip Kratz and John Meehan and the team at Blue Devils, just listen and do some comparison, to our, what was then the 1121 mellophone. And we were able to make some improvements, and Ben's going to go through the new SKUs, the new nomenclature for the new products that we have out there. But we're really excited about this because it allowed us to improve not only our current mellophone, but also create what we now call, I call it an adapted mellophone, because I still think, it's on a mellophone chassis, and it sounds a little bit more like a French horn, but we'll let Ben go down that road. So Ben, fire away.
Of course. So I guess I'll start out here by showing the two instruments side by side. You can see here on the left in the lacquer, we've got the KMP 611, which is going to be your traditional straight mouth pipe trumpet shank mellophone. And then on the right here in silver plate, we have the KMH 611, which is the marching horn, as we call it, the adapted mellophone, which has the angled lead pipe for French horn players and takes the French horn shank receiver. Outside of the front end, the mouth pipe and the mouthpiece receiver, they are identical instruments. Through this process, we learned a lot about the acoustics of the mellophone, and what started out as a project to really just adapt the 1121 mellophone really ended up being a complete redesign of our mellophones. We cut an entirely new bell mandrel, really working on getting the sound of the mellophone to really match what the modern marching arts alto voice requires. So it's an all new bell, all new lead pipe for the trumpet shank KMP 611, and an all new lead pipe developed by Jim Patterson for the KMH 611. Additionally, outside of the instruments, as we were doing all the play testing for this, we also discovered that we needed to completely redevelop the mouthpieces for these instruments. And so, being a horn player myself and having spent entirely too much time using those hateful mouthpiece adapters, we've actually come out with two new trumpet shank mellophone mouthpieces. One here is kind of more traditional mouthpiece that has a trumpet rim, and we also have a version which has a French horn rim. So this way you don't have to use mouthpiece adapters, but the cup, back bore, and throat of these mouthpieces are exactly the same. It's just a different rim for a different degree of familiarity and comfort for different players. And then also for that, we needed to develop new mouthpieces for this marching horn. So we have two of the same kind of things. We have one designed for horn players and one designed for trumpet players. So you can really get either instrument and players can use whichever mouthpiece they find more comfortable. Between the two instruments themselves, they do very intentionally have a different response and feel between the two. I think the best way to illustrate this is usually here in our factory in Eastlake, our mellophones are play tested by trumpet players. And so they are very used to the open feel of a traditional trumpet shank mellophone. And then when the first KMHs came through the factory, they came up to me all at Twitter being like, there is something horribly wrong with these mellophones. They're really stuffy. They don't play right. And I was like, okay, calm down. I played it. I'm like, this feels fine. And I gave it to our French horn play tester. And she was like, thank you. This feels like a French horn. It feels like home. So I mean, I think that really illustrates what we're going for with these two instruments, is that they're really designed to have the same voice and fulfill the same role in a marching band, but really give different feels. They do work really well together. The sound's just a little bit different because you've got different front ends, but they blend together very well. So you can mix and match in an ensemble if you want, but also it's really designed to give the director the choice. Do you want something that suits trumpet players or suits horn players, or do you have a mix between the two?
And I think the important thing to note too, most people, when they hear the word marching horn, are thinking that it's in B flat. This is not in B flat, it's an F. Is that correct?
Correct. This is an F alto marching horn. And along those lines, that's part of the reason we had to develop the new mouthpieces, is because it's such a shorter instrument than a B flat horn. You really need a mouthpiece that matches the acoustic of the instrument, the same way that a orchestral player will use a shallower mouthpiece on a descant horn or a triple horn, or you don't use a Bach 1C on your piccolo trumpet, use a smaller cup. You can certainly put in a French horn mouthpiece in the receiver, but you're going to get optimal projection and power and that marching sound with the mouthpieces we provide with the instruments.
Yeah, it's also going to make a difference in the slotting and the pitch center too.
Correct. You know, it's just the same way a mellophone really needs a trumpet check mellophone really needs a mellophone mouthpiece, not a trumpet mouthpiece. But I mean, we went through a full mouthpiece development project with these as well, just to reiterate. So we've got brand new mouthpieces, brand new mellophones. It's basically an entire revitalization of the alto voice of our marching portfolio.
So Ben, I have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you were talking about being able to mix and match these horns in an ensemble. So really, if you think about it, I mean, we're used to, as directors, trying to match different trumpets, right? And different trombones, different baritones, depending on what they have available to them. So it's really not any different than trying to match different brands of trumpets, right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they have the same bell, so they're a very similar sonic profile. It's probably about the same difference you would get with different mouthpieces on the same trumpet.
Okay.
So it's not a drastically difference, and I think that also gives an option because mellophones it's usually written in two mellophone parts. So I think there's an opportunity to mix and match with the tone call in the same way some groups will do like baritone euphonium on their baritone parts. You can do the same kind of mix and match of sounds to really get a more varied and colorful alto voice.
Cool. Cool.
So I know one of the things that we had discussions with Andy Seeley at Hebron, Richard, if you remember, and I remember you talking about this, is that, composers, you yourself especially, you guys are not writing a lot of low mellophone parts anymore. I mean, it's basically maybe G on up, second space or second line G on up to high B flats. And so I think it's important to understand that is something that's very attractive to a lot of directors, I think, because they're getting mellophone parts that are pretty high, and the ability to project and not be extremely sharp up there is really important. And that's kind of how this was dialed in the new product, right?
Yeah, we very much designed these around that ethos of, second line G for horn and F. So middle C on the piano on up is really going to be the area of where these instruments will shine. I know I was having a lot of fun with this at TMEA, warming up, if you will, just picking off high Ds and high Es and just soaring up there effortlessly. I mean, really do excel in that, stratospheric third, fourth trumpet kind of writing.
That's a welcome addition to arrangers, I'm telling you.
Sorry to all the horn players out there. You got to go play up there now.
So Blue Devils will be playing on the KMP 611S this summer.
Mhm.
And we've got groups that are already interested in the horn. So it is going to be available. So if you have an interest, please reach out to your educational support manager in your region, and we'll be happy. And if you're not sure who that is, reach out to me at rgreenwell@connselmer.com, and I'll point you in the right direction. Or if it's in my territory, I'll be happy to talk to you about these wonderful instruments. Well, thanks so much, Ben, for being on here with us today. Richard, thanks for your time. I'm really excited about where this is going, and I'm looking forward to hearing groups being able to take advantage of these great instruments.
Yeah, Ben, thank you for being on with us today. Great
You're
job.
very welcome.